Hello and welcome back to the Fat Dad Fishing Show. I'm your regular host, Rich Natoli, and tonight's going to be one of those episodes where we do the Q&A. We get a lot of questions that come in during episodes, after episodes. I get a lot of texts, emails, comments, and we want to try to pull together some of these answers, but I can't do it myself. So I reached out to an all-star crew of people to come on. So we're going to have on tonight George Bucci. We're going to have Paul, Mr. Great Bay Outfitters on, and Philly Girl Fishing, Kristen on. And I think we've got it pretty well covered there. We got the surf, we got the boats, we've got the head boats and the charters, and we've got the kayaks covered, and pretty much every species. And I'm sure Paul's going to hope that somebody asks questions about sheep's head. I won't, but he might. He wants it. So we're going to roll into that pretty quick. I'm going to go through the sponsors real quick, and we're going to start off with Paul and Great Bay Outfitters. If you're not aware, they are the primary sponsor of this podcast and live stream. So thank you, Paul, for that. Radio Road in Tuckerton, my home shop for kayak fishing and outfitting my kayak. And when I get down that way, whether I need something or not, I tend to buy it. I can't tell you how many extra rod holders I have that I really don't need because I don't carry as many rod holders as I have. But if for some reason they break off, I've got extras. But Paul is carrying Native. He's carrying Old Town. He's got the Crescent. We've got to ask him about that when he comes on. He's got the new line now in the shop, which is pretty exciting, especially for those that like the really tricked out kayaks. Radio Road, Tuckerton, New Jersey, if you need anything kayak related, including if you want to buy a used kayak. People sell them through Paul. So he's selling used kayaks all the time. You can pick up various brands that are not necessarily the brands that he carries brand new. Then we have Quad State Tune with Kevin Driscoll is your guy. If you have a Toyota truck, Tacoma, Tundra, 4Runner, some versions of the Lexus, if you need a tune for your engine, you get more torque, horsepower, and better shifting on the highways. So you're going to get, not only you're going to be able to tow that boat a lot easier, but you're going to get more performance out of those engines, which, admit it or not, you got to admit it, Toyotas have great engines in them. I know people say, no, it's American. Well, look at Toyota, because Toyotas are great trucks. And then real estate for me, Southeastern Pennsylvania. You can reach out to me at 267-270-1145. Don't do it during the show. I won't answer. It's on silent. I remembered this time. But yeah, residential real estate in Southeastern Pennsylvania, I can help you out. And all that said, I'm going to start bringing people on, and we're going to roll into this pretty quickly. So if you have questions, any question, you can ask any question you want. Doesn't mean we're going to answer it. And I'm saying that to my brother mainly because it's probably going to be some inappropriate stuff being thrown in that chat. But and I see my nephew in there as well. So we'll see about that. But everyone, thanks for joining in the chat. And I'm going to bring on first George Bucci. George, good to see you.
Going on, Rich.
I'm excited for that. I love these episodes. So let's hit your expertise. All right, Century Fishing dude here, but surf and boat, striped bass king of this episode. I mean,
that's what I do. I like to chase. I chase the bass.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. And then we have your opposite coming on right now. We have Paul at Great Bay Outfitters, who calls the striped bass the striped carp. Anything kayak related, sheep's head, tog. You're gonna have, well, Paul, you're gonna fish for anything really, but you really love the sheep's head.
Oh, I do love sheep's head. Sheep's head and tog is probably 80% of what I do.
Yeah. Okay. And kayak, anything kayak fishing. And then we have Kristen from Philly Girl Fishing on. Kristen, it's been a while since you've been on this.
Long time. Yep.
It's great to see you. Kristen is one of the better people that I have fished with on the charter boats, and her claim to fame has been brought up when she's not on by several people is that she will somehow steal your spot on the boat and you won't even notice it because she's so damn polite about it.
I just come over, I sing, I just make a joyful noise, just have a good time.
Yeah, you just come over, you say hi, how's it going, and you don't even notice the rod in her hand, and next thing you know, she's fishing your spot and you're on the other side. So yeah, it'll happen, and then she'll pull up the fish when you were skunked for the last 25 minutes. So yeah, so everyone, thanks for coming on. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be fun. And Before we get started, Paul, you wanted to just real quick mention the new line of boats that you have in?
Sure. So pretty exciting. Crestcraft kayaks, great boats. They've been traditionally paddle boats. There were no dealers in New Jersey, believe it or not. So I jumped on the opportunity. The really cool thing about Kristen kayaks is they have a new line. It's a micro skiff. So you can hang a 6 horsepower gas outboard that will, man, she's going to zoom. They're clocking like 18 to 20 miles an hour with 6 horsepower to Hatsu. And there's another variation of that micro skiff that accepts electric motors like a Newport NK300. I've kind of transitioned from, I lived in Raritan Bay for a long, long time. I'm kind of enjoying the backwaters now. I think that micro skiff is going to do really, really well around here. It's got a 6-inch draft, and she's got actually a pretty sharp entry. So it's a legit boat. It's not like, some crap out of China. Kristen is a US based company, and they're all manufactured here. So I'm extremely excited about it. It's just this new evolution of kayaks. Motorization is a real trend in kayaking, and I'm embracing it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that out on the water. I'm definitely getting to the point in my life where love kayak fishing, but it'd be nice to have a micro skiff, something like that, because I just don't have it in me to put in 20 miles on the water every day. Yeah. So, all right, let's jump in. We have a bunch of questions actually in the chat already, but there's one that is in the chat, and also one that I got through text today, actually, from somebody who was on social media and noticed something. And George, you're going to have to put a story behind this, because this is specifically for you, the surf guy. And there's a reason this question was asked. But the question is, what's the most important thing to remember when you're packing up from a day surf fishing?
To put all your stuff in your truck.
Yeah. All right, now give the background.
Well, it's been a grind. This fall's been a grind, and I was off a lot more days this November than I actually worked. I think I worked 8 days. I took vacation time, so I wanted to grind. And I was coming to the end of the grind here. It was Black Friday. I had something to do with my wife, but I had time in the morning to fish. So, of course, I drove an hour and a half north and fished the beach, and there was some fish. And I got caught up with time, realized what time it was. I was late. I was going to be late. My wife was going to be angry. I ran to my truck, and I did something that I don't ever do. I laid my rod against my truck on the passenger side, which I never do. And then I went around to the driver's side and took my belt off, took my dry top off, took my waders off, threw them in my truck. My rod was out of sight, out of mind, and I jumped in the truck and drove away.
Yeah. And you want to give a little background as to what exactly that setup is? So
that was a Century S1 10-foot with a VSX2, probably about $1,700.
Yeah.
So I was about 30 minutes down the road, realized like a brick hit me in the head. Oh my God, I forgot my rod. I called a buddy who was still on the beach. He ran up to my parking spot. There was about 30 guys there. I would say 20 of them would not have returned that rod. And he said it was gone. So I pretty much blasted it on the internet and hoped for the best. And then today, and when I had written it all off, I got a message from a woman who said, "I think my husband has your rod." And she gave me the number, and I called him, and he said, "Boy, you are one lucky guy." He goes, I should have some good mojo now. So I said, "You're going to get all the good karma coming, and then some." So I'll pick it up on Thursday. It's been a painful 3 days, man. I was just disappointed in myself,
Right. Well, good job not blaming your wife.
Yeah. No, nobody to blame but myself.
But the moral of the story, the best thing to do is to do the same thing every time, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I've even gotten into the habit of, even after I think I have everything packed, I walk around the truck, because I can't tell you how many times I've laid things up on the side of my truck, on the bed, like my phone, maybe a couple other things, and just laid them there, and then threw all my stuff in the truck and then jumped in. I mean, I left my phone one time and drove miles down the road, and I went back and it was in the middle of an intersection, and I don't know how it didn't get run over, but it didn't.
Yeah, I've done it. I've personally done it with GoPros and other cameras similar to GoPros. I call them GoPros, but they weren't. But yeah, I did it down at OBX, and if you know down there, you can drive for 3 hours and still be on the island. And I'm about 45 minutes. I was like, oh my god, I left him in the bed, and I went back, and the bed's empty.
Yeah.
So luckily, it's just one straight road. So I just kept going back looking for these little tiny cameras, and it was one camera. I found it on the side of the road. I was lucky. It had a broken lens, but the lenses are only like $5, $10.
Perfect.
So yeah, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So there's the first one. Yeah, I do think one of the most important, and I'm going to extend this. So your point is do the same thing every time. Make it a process so that you automatically go through it. You've went off of that because you were late.
Yeah.
And I also think, just to extend it, that's what I learned kayak fishing and driving up to 2 or 3 hours away. I can't tell you how well you guys have seen it online, especially if you're in any kayak groups. Oh, I drove 2 hours and I left my drive at home. The one thing that I did is I drove down to Cape May County, and I left my PFD behind. And most people would just go fishing without it. I will not. So I had to end up buying a brand new PFD before I went out. So I had to wait for a shop to open that had one that fit. So yeah. So preparation and routine, I think are big ones. Definitely. All right. So this next one, Paul, this is actually in the chat. I'm going to put it up there.
Oh boy.
And guys, we're going to start with Paul. Anybody that wants to jump in can jump in. Let me find this here. Wow, we're getting a lot of questions in here. All right. Justin from Downingtown here, a neighbor of mine. What's the best way to get started with kayaking for someone who has never done it? That's a great question.
That's a silly question. You come into Great Bay Outfitters. What are you talking about? No, this is the best way. Honestly, you don't want to start with a big box store. You need to go into a dealer who is independent, who has experience in kayak fishing, because these boats are getting more and more expensive. And the last thing you want to do is spend several $1,000s on a boat that doesn't fit your needs or doesn't fit your fishing or the waters that you fish. Perfect example. I had a customer come in here over the weekend thinking he was going to walk out with a PDL 120, and he ended up walking out with a big water. Because of where he intended to fish. So demoing a boat is very important. We're all built differently. These kayaks are like tools, and they're meant for a specific job. So if you're fishing out front, if you're fishing open water, maybe a tri-hull design is better for you. If you're primarily a lake, pond, river fisherman, maybe a tunnel boat is better for you. Length has a lot to do with it. So I think it's really important to first, determine your budget. What can you afford? Don't do this fake it till you make it stuff. Like if you can afford $2,000, you can afford $2,000. Demo a boat. There aren't very many dealers that have waterfront properties. I'm very fortunate to have one. We have docks in the back. So I can put 2, 3, 4 boats, and then you can try them yourself. But I think those are the most important things: is establish a reasonable budget, figure out where you're going to be, where you intend to fish the boat or use the boat, and try it out. I'm 6'1", 190 pounds. That boat's going to behave differently for somebody who's 270 pounds. It's important to try them out.
Yeah, I actually almost bought a Hobie without trying it. I figured I'll just get a PA, and I was fortunate that I ran across some. This was before Great Bay Outfitters existed, and I'm out near the water, and the guy says, "Hey," I said, "I'm thinking about buying it." He says, "Hey, jump on it and try it." I hated it. It immediately hurt my knees, and it's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just it didn't work with my knees. That flutter kick, that push instead of the cycle motion. So that would have been about a $4,000 mistake right there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We're
Yeah.
all built differently, and it's really important before you spend a ton of money. Sit in one, try it out. You think it may be for you, and just may not be.
Right. And really determine what you're going to use it for primarily. Everybody says, I'll give you an example. If you look at Old Town, people say, well, the 120 is the most popular. I'm going to get the 120. 120 is great. And they're like, oh, I can stand to fish. Okay. If you're fishing an inlet, if you're fishing salt water, you're probably not standing. You've got too many currents, and you should really learn a little bit about stability of these kayaks, because people always say you can't tip it. There isn't a true kayak that's been made that I can't tip in about 3 seconds. And there are different types of stability. There's primary stability. That's you're not moving and you can stand. And then there's secondary. And secondary is you're moving and it's more stable if it has better secondary. And you look at the big water versus the 120. The 120 is outstanding primary, not as great secondary, and it's the opposite for the big water, which is why I have a big water, because I fish heavy currents and I do run inlets, and I want to have something that's going to be more stable when that heavy flow of water is coming through, especially, even around bridges and everything. Mine gets more stable, whereas some get less stable when that water's flowing over that hull. All right. That's a good answer, Paul. I do agree. Get out there on the water and try it, because otherwise you really could make a very big mistake. And it's not like back in the day where you can buy it for, $2,000 and sell it for $2,200 a week later.
No, those things are over. COVID is over, and these boats are getting more and more expensive. I'm outfitting an XDR right now that's running about $15,000.
Yeah. How much?
15,000.
Good Lord. Okay. I'm not getting that.
I'm not even exaggerating.
Huh?
Oh my God. I am not getting that at all. All right. So so Kristen, here's one. We'll start with you on this. I think the other guys might have something to say on this as well, but I want to start with you on this one. And this came up on a phone call that I had earlier today with somebody. I'm not going to mention names, but actually might be in the chat right now. The question is, if the tog aren't biting right now at this time of the year, what else can you fish for when you're out front? So you're not in the backwaters, but you're out front. What would you do if you knew you're on a tog trip and you're just not going to catch anything? And you had all the gear in the world? Is there anything you can do?
It kind of depends on the boat, and I say that because every boat has their different kind of wrecks they tend to frequent. So, certain boats there'll be porgies around. So I'm thinking of, I would say Jamaica 2 is my regular boat, even though I'm on 50,000 boats and up and down the East Coast and stuff. Like, if that would be my regular charter boat, that would be it, right? So most of the time, we're going to go to a spot that has some porgies. So, the folks that don't like togging, they can still catch porgies on the crab, or we'll have other bait or whatever, some clam or whatever. I like slow pitch jigs, so for me, I almost always have at least 2 little slow pitch jigs in my bag, and throw it down, see what I can catch. So depending on the time of year, again, later on in the year on J2, I'm thinking of, a lot of times it's cod and tog. So again, I have a slow pitch jig just in case I'm that bored. Let me just dangle the jig, and I have caught, not keepers though, but I have caught some like 14-inch tog on a slow pitch jig, believe it or not. So it can happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was crazy.
All right, sounds like a challenge for this weekend for our upcoming trip.
All right, I'll be there, so let's try it. I'll try it.
All right. So you're saying porgies, George. Yep. When you're out front at this time of year and you're not going after the striped bass, you're going for tog. What would you be looking at as a secondary target? Well, maybe it could be striped bass.
It is going to be striped bass. Yeah, I mean, if I'm on a charter, and if, as long as we're inside of 3 miles, I still, if I'm on a charter, I'm bringing a rod for casting just in case, or jigging just in case, because it's happened. Many times off Atlantic City, especially this time of year, Atlantic City, even Cape May. A buddy and I, we went out to go togging out of Cape May, and I brought a striper rod. We got out there, and there was herring on the surface right off the Cape May Reef. Yeah. And he said, all right, drop the anchor. And I said, I'm not dropping the anchor until I put a bass in this boat. And so he ran me over there, and they were all 30, 40 pound bass. And we
Wow.
played with them for about an hour, and then the boats covered it up and put them down, and then we went back to togging, and I dropped the anchors for them.
There you go. There you go. All right, Paul, what are you fishing for as your secondary?
Kind of the same thing. Tog, sea bass, striped bass. Just, you got to be careful. George mentioned a 3 mile line. I almost made an error 2 years ago when I moved down here. Started fishing. I'm in Southern Ocean County now. I ran into just acres of striped bass, and I happened to get a slot, and I'm like, all right, well, cool. And I put it in my boat, and like 2 minutes later, I'm like, holy crap, I'm going out to a piece that's 6 miles out. I can't bring this bass with me. So it didn't click. So just be conscious of that.
Right.
Like you may catch it inside of the 3 mile line, but if you bring that fish past the 3 mile line, you're going to have a lot of explaining to do.
You're done. Yeah. Yeah, we had one of the. I'm going to say striped bass is a big one. The conversation today, it was sea bass was the one that he's going to bring extra gear for this trip on Sunday. Thinking, if the tog aren't biting, that's what he's going to go after. Striped bass is a good one. I have a feeling we're going to start inside the 3 mile. I wouldn't keep a striped bass personally, but it's something to go after. But I'll tell you, on Fishmonger a couple of years ago, one of the best trips I ever had, it was a tog trip, and the striped bass would not stop. I mean, it was insanity. I mean, we're fishing for tog, and then striped bass come by like a quarter of a mile away. So it was just anchors up and over there and just on them. It was like the perfect atmosphere. We're bailing those, we get exhausted, and then we go back to tog fishing until the next school came through. So, all right, sounds like those are going to be
funny.
the big ones.
I just have one little story there for that.
Yeah.
I was on Fishbound down in Ocean City, Maryland, and I don't know how far out, but we were far, really, really far. So we were looking for big tog, and there's one guy. He was fishing a slow pitch setup, like he likes to use a slow pitch rod for catching tog or whatever. We thought he had a double digit. Pull that thing up, it's like a 35-pound striped bass.
Wow.
And then the guy on the other side of the boat, his rod starts spinning, like going and cranking. So he brings it up. So we had these two twin 35-pound, 40-pound striped bass that we had to take pictures and throw them out. And then even the captain was just like, don't post that because people are going to think that we kept it, which of course they went back.
Exactly.
Like, oh, man, but that was so crazy because it was huge striped bass on white crab. Like we weren't doing anything else, fancy, just fishing for tog.
Way out there. And Fishbound, I believe, is the world record holding boat for tog, right?
Yeah. Now we have, I don't know if there's
isn't that what Westerfeld caught
I'm not
on?
sure. I'm not sure. Just because I know there was a guy who just caught one in Rhode Island.
Oh.
He caught a big one. Yeah, it's up there. So I'm not sure which one is the biggest anymore. But the big fish have recently been caught. So yeah.
All right. Well, it'll be on the Osprey this weekend.
Hey, come on, speak it into existence.
I love the optimism.
It will be. It'll be on my rod. Of course, somebody will be borrowing it at the time, but it'll be on my rod. All right.
What are you fishing for tog now? What's your rod setup you use?
So this kind of goes into a question. So I use a custom that was made by John Creeley. So I believe it's a Jigging World blank. And I love Penn reels. So I use a Penn Squall low profile, and that's it. Like I don't, and actually this rolls into the next question, which is for everyone. And actually, Kristen, let's start with you, and then we can go around. The question that came in was, it was set up with, I can't afford these $1,000 setups. What are some good setups that I can buy off the rack at a regular store within a limited budget to get on these fish? So I'm going to leave it wide open, and everyone can just answer for the kind of fish that you really like to target. And Paul, even though it's wintertime, you can talk about sheep's head if you want. All right, Kristen, you're up.
All right, so I'm going to go with fluke. I think that's the most, we don't need to spend, $2,500 on a fluke setup. It's so, it's so overkill now. It depends. And this kind of goes back to what Paul was saying earlier. Just know your budget, shot within your budget, and shot within your means, realistically, right? So for me, I do have some injuries. from car accidents and different things in sports. When I was playing basketball and volleyball and all that stuff back in the day, I was a little more active than sitting at my computer desk at work, right? So I like the lightest stuff possible. So sometimes I will go and spend a little more money to get that light and strong stuff. But my almost 8 pound fluke that I caught on J2, I caught that on a Nexus on a freshwater, technically Daiwa Tatula from 2013. Like
Mhm.
it's not even a saltwater. Caught an 8 pound fluke on that. Like, and it's not, again, a Nexus back then. I think it was probably like 180. I don't know what they are now, but you can definitely find them used. I honestly think you can get away with a solid fluke setup for like, if you spend, let's say, 150 on the rod, and you could probably even go cheaper than that, but somewhere between 100 and 150 on a rod,
Yep.
and then 100 for like a size 100 bait caster reel is what I prefer to use, just because I like to be able to kind of clip. Where's my camera? Here we go. Click the bail and release it really easy without having that open and making sure the line stays straight.
Yeah.
For those open reels, that's all you need. That's really all you need. And honestly, even from a jig perspective, bucktails now are getting pretty expensive. So, chicken rig it up. Hooks, weights, a little low profile size 100 reel, bait caster reel, and whatever kind of rods you can afford. Those fish are pretty aggressive as long as you can feel that jig or the weights or whatever you are that is balanced for the amount of weight that you're using. Feel it kind of lift and when it's loaded up with whatever you have on there, that's all you need.
Very good. All right, George, what do you have? I know you're a Century guy, so you've got like the in to the
Yeah,
top of the
I
line
mean,
customs.
it's it's nice to have nice stuff, but it's not necessary. Some of these rods that are coming out now, Tsunami makes great rods. They're very affordable. Reel wise, there's nothing wrong with a reel that's not waterproof. If you decided that you were going to be in the water with the reel, you can get old Penn reels. You can take them apart and pack them with grease. That virtually makes them waterproof. That's all guys did before the Van Stalls, before the Z Basses, before the Vissers, all that, Z Bass. They would just pack their Penn reels with grease, and that still holds true today. You could still do the same thing. The rods they're making today are ridiculous. I mean, even the cheap. I felt some of these new Tsunami rods, and they feel fantastic. A matter of fact, this kid that I know called me today, and he was asking me about. He said, "I'd like to get a rod, but I can't afford a rod." I said, go look at the Tsunami Elites, the Airwave Elites. They're fantastic and they're affordable.
Yeah, airwaves are definitely good.
Yeah,
definitely. Paul, what's your thought?
I really agree with George. I can't tell you how many fish I've caught on the Tsunami Classic. It's probably like a $70 rod. It's very versatile. I do use Nexus a lot. I like Jigging World products, but man, it's just such a simple and inexpensive rod, but it performs so well. And I've caught from sheepshead to sea bass to striped bass, and if you don't have a huge budget, yeah, I completely agree with George. Go check out the selection of the new Tsunami rods, because I think you'll be surprised.
Yeah. Okay. And I'll just throw in, if you want to go super cheap like I do, when you're on a kayak, you have limited room, so I tend to use multi-functional rods. One of my favorites is a TFO Pro 7'6" medium heavy, and I have a $80 Penn Fierce on there. I catch fluke with that. I catch sheep's head with that. I catch tog with that. I catch bluefish with that, and I've caught a over 50-inch striped bass with that, all with 15-pound braid and whatever leader, depending on what I'm doing. So you can go now. It's not perfect for any of those. And I've also caught redfish and speckled trout on there. So I mean, it's versatile. And the rod itself, I think when I bought it, might even be less expensive now. I think it was $120, and the reel was like $80. So for less than $200, I literally bring that everywhere. And as a matter of fact, I am bringing that rod on the Osprey this weekend, because I know, I mean, when you pull up close to, if not over, a 50-pound bass on a rod, you're pretty sure that it can handle anything. Now, it can't bounce an 8-ounce weight, but I can use that for any other species out there that we're going to run into. All right. So thank you. Those are some good answers. We got a question in here. Heaven and Elle has a question in here. I'm going to save hers for later though. So Elle, don't go away. I'm going to bring it up. Let's see. We have this question came in. Is there any advice that anyone, okay, this is for anybody. Kristen, let's start with you. People that haven't been on head boats or charter boats, but want to start fishing later in the season, what advice do you have for first timers before they book their first trip or going on their first trip?
When you say later in the season, we're talking, fall, winter
Fall.
time. Okay.
Fall. Yep.
And they've never done party boats before.
Right.
That's what we were saying. I would say, again, I think the bottom fishing is like the easiest thing to do. I always tell people for first timers, like for example, so I play music at church. And people see my posts of fishing. They're like, oh man, you gotta take me fishing. So my first question is, how good are you with motion sickness? Number one. Do we need to go fish a pier or are we gonna be on a boat? But then besides that, it's a matter of, the easiest thing to me is gonna be sea bass and porgies. You put clam on a hook and wait until you feel it tug and then start reeling up. That's kind of the easiest way that I can teach them. I did take a couple of beginners out on fluking and it was tough. She managed to catch a short. And she was so excited. Like that was such a fun day for her. Like she picked up on it. But for a lot of people, I think those can be a little bit more challenging. So I would say definitely don't be afraid to ask the captain. You can message them on Facebook nowadays. Some people, you want to call them either way, and kind of ask, hey, I'm new. What should I bring? Most people do. Most of the websites do kind of list, what you do need to bring. But I say the easiest thing is reach out to the captain the day before or a couple days before the trip and just ask those questions. And don't be afraid to ask those questions because those mates are there to help you. They'll teach you about how to put the bait on the hook and, what kind of stuff that you use. But definitely that would be my suggestion. Go in October when sea bass is open and you should have pretty good action to start with.
Okay. Very good. Anyone else have something you want to throw on there?
Yeah, dress warm if you're going out there right now. Jesus.
That's that part.
Dress warm, layers, right?
Layer up.
And waterproof if you can do it.
And just, pay attention to the mates, pay attention to what other people are doing on the boat, because you can pick up a lot. Don't stay like when I'm on a party boat or a charter, I'm not there for the show. If somebody's catching on the other side of the boat, I'm going to move around. So just pay attention, head on the swivel. Open your eyes, open your ears, and learn from other people.
Very good. I'll go back to your motion sickness thing. If you're not sure, take Dramamine the night before and take it the morning of. If you wait, and if you do get seasick, you'll know, even though you took it, you just won't get sick or as sick if you take the Dramamine. But if you don't take it the day before and you're going to get seasick, it's not going to help. You're pretty well done in. So if you're unsure, just buy it, take it. And if you go through the whole next day and you feel nothing, you probably weren't going to get sick. But for a $12 package of Dramamine, it'll make your $150+ trip that much more enjoyable. Nobody wants to be
that boat is not turning around. So
right.
You're out, brother.
Consider it insurance. Oh man, it reminds me of summer times when the families would get on for the afternoon fluke trips and be kind of like they're excited and like trying to surf the waves at the front of the boat and having a good time. We always laugh and give them about 45 minutes that they're going to be laying down on the bench, either outside or inside, or their heads in a bucket because they thought it was fun and didn't realize that they didn't take Dramamine or Bonine or get the patch. The people get the little patch. So yeah. Don't be afraid.
Do something.
And
I don't think people realize just how many regulars on these boats get seasick, and they take the stuff beforehand, and they are like regulars, like on all the time, at least once, twice a week for some of them. Some of these older guys that I've met on these boats are out there every freaking time I'm on there, and they always have a patch on. So, and if you don't get seasick, just keep in mind, everybody is capable of getting seasick, even if you don't. I've never been seasick, but I am certainly capable of it. And if it happens, it's going to happen. So, Yeah, keep that in mind. George, do you have anything you want to add on that, or are you good?
I mean, I'm not much of a togger. I'll do it once in a while, but I try to tell people to have some patience. Have a little bit of patience and learn how that bite feels. I mean, I took a guy out who never did it before, and there were 6 of us on the boat, chartered a boat. He got the first rod and he dropped it down and he got bit instantly, and he just was jerking and jerking and jerking. And I said that poor Tog probably has a stiff neck now watching that bait going up and down so fast. So once he learned to have a little patience, we started putting fish in the boat.
Yeah. All right. And here's one that I'll throw in there. KCD. Don't bring bananas on the boat. Just don't do
That's
it.
a good one. Yep.
Yeah. And that's actually one that'll annoy people if you do it. Some people will actually get annoyed if you do it, because apparently it's true that you can't have bananas on a boat. I don't personally believe it, but there are people that get really upset when they spend all that money and you brought bananas. They think it curses the boat. So that's a good point.
Oh,
all right.
I'm bringing him on the Osprey next week.
You're not going to, or you are?
I am.
You are. It won't bother me. I think Scotty's bringing.
How many bunches are you bringing?
Oh, man, I'll feed the whole boat.
I'm down with the bananas.
Get the economy size.
There you go. Little tiny guys. All right. So here's one. George, this one's a good one for you. So this is one of the most common questions that I get throughout the year. And I can't tell you how many times I try to answer this via text, and it takes like an hour of texting back and forth. And let's kind of narrow in on this time of year, even though it's generally a more general question, depending on the time of year. If you're going to go fishing for striped bass from the beach and you don't have any reports, like you don't have a network, you don't know where they are right now, but you're going to go down to the beach and you're like, I got to go fishing today. What are you specifically looking for on a beach before you hit that beach and start throwing lures out there?
I'm looking for birds. I'm looking for bait. If it's a sunny day, finding the bunker will be easy. If there's just birds picking in the wash, it's probably going to be sand eels. So you're going to know what kind of bait you're going to be throwing. If it's sand eels, you can throw metal. You can throw skinny profiles if it's bunker. And generally, I'll pick an area, and that area could be 10 miles. That could be 20 miles, or sometimes it could be even up to 40 miles of an area that I'm going to work. And maybe I'll start to the north and work my way south, or maybe I'll start south and work my way north. And it's amazing how you can be a mile away from incredible action. And if you're not moving constantly, looking for that bait to see where these fish are pushing the bait in, that, it could be literally next to you. But if it's around like sort of a bend on the coastline, you're not going to know it unless you keep moving until you actually find some action.
So let's take this. Let's say you're going to start north and work your way home. So you're heading south.
Yeah.
You're pulling up to a beach. You're jumping onto the beach. You're fishing it for a while. You saw some birds or whatever, some sand eels in the wash. You're fishing there, and now it's time to move. Are you just jumping in the car and you're moving a mile at a time, 2 miles?
That'll depend how quickly the action's moving. This particular year, there's been a lot of movement. I mean, it seems like the fish are moving faster than the bait. So a lot of times if I see it setting up, if I see them actively pushing bunker in, I may set up 2 blocks south of that and just be patient and let it come to me. And then there's other times where I'll jump right into it if maybe they haven't pinned on a jetty or pinned in on a bar, right. And I'll jump right into it because those fish may not actually move for a little bit of time. So there's been a lot of that this year where the fish seem to come in and out. They would come in for 5 or 10 minutes and then they would push out and then they would pop down the beach, maybe 2 blocks, and the bait was just flying. So I actually invested in an electric bike this year because I'm tired of walking. I'm just going to ride the electric bike down the beach with the fish now.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
By the way, Paul sells electric bikes.
Oh my God. I think that's so cool. I have like a fat tire e-bike.
Yeah.
A Yak Attack crate on it with rod holders. I mean, I tripped it out. And the thing handles sand so well. I was surprised.
They do.
I was really surprised.
Yeah, I got a couple buddies. It's tough to compete with that when, all of a sudden you see 3 blocks away, you see the fish push in, and I go, all right, let me get my old ass down there, and my buddies hop on their electric bikes and go zipping down there, and they got 2 or 3 fish before I even get there.
Yeah, you're out of breath.
Yeah, there was many days where I walked 5-10 miles this year.
Yeah, that I can't do that. I'm out. I'm out on that one. I'm jumping on the back of your bike. I'm jumping in that yak attack box, and
Rich is going to be on the handlebars.
yeah. I'm sitting on. I'm sitting
Like
on the
back in the day.
handlebars. I'm behind George, just holding his waist.
Yeah.
Slow down, George.
Pull one of those little kitty things that they attach to the back of the bike and just sit in that.
Yeah, put me in a little trailer. I'm
Yeah,
in. Kristen, you
trailer.
in? We'll get in the trailer. So we'll let Paul and George.
I think a
drive it.
trailer is more fitting. Yeah.
All right. So what do you do if you don't see anything, and you're just like, you don't see anything anywhere? Do you still go down and check troughs or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can work back and forth. It's the kind of thing where, especially in the fall, where it may not happen till noon. So sometimes I may just, if I think that there's going to be an area, maybe there was fish the day before, and I'll go maybe a mile south of where they were the day before and just be patient. You got to have some patience. And we've talked about before, there's the surf cameras are up and down the whole coast now. So while I'm sitting there watching the water, I'm watching to see what the boats are doing, because the boats will be a dead giveaway, especially the party boats. They'll get on it, and if, you get a couple boats together, it attracts more boats. Yeah. And then you'll have an idea of maybe where the fish are and if they're going to be able to push some bait in or not. These boats they got the best electronics. So they're not stopping just to drop some lines. They're stopping because they're marking fish.
Right. Well, for striped bass.
Yeah.
For fluke, they're just stopping because the guy next to him stopped.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a follow-up question that in the chat. Do you still find success on the pencils when those fish are on sand eels?
Yes, I do. Yeah, because a lot of times they push the sand eels to the surface. Mm-hmm. So they're just looking for something wiggling across it. And a lot of times you may have to downsize that pencil. Maybe I'll go from something in the 8-inch range, and I'll just downsize to a small pencil, like a 5 or 6 inch Cordell, or a 5 inch, the tiny Guppy pencils. Guppy makes a great little pencil. Something a little smaller, small profiles, and a lot of times that'll trigger a lot more bites than the bigger pencils.
All right. What are you throwing first for sand eels?
For sand eels, I don't like to throw the Ava jigs. I will throw Ava jigs, but SP minnows, long skinny profile things, anything that's got a long skinny profile. I prefer to get everything I can on topwater. I just love a topwater strike. So I'll throw pencils to the point of fault. And, while everybody's catching fish, I'm going to try to get that one pencil strike.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Let's see. Let me find the next question here. Paul, this one's probably a good one for you. What's the best source for finding kayak launch points? The question was actually for New York, but let's just say in general, what are some sources that you use to find kayak launch points?
So I do a lot of scouting, like in Virginia, for example. I knew nothing about it. I went down to Cape Charles. I opened up Google Maps and I just scoured every inch of that coastline. And you don't need much to launch a kayak. So, Google Earth, Google Maps are definitely your friend. It's not difficult. I'll identify areas of interest and then I'll drive there physically. Just like when I moved to Little Neck Harbor. I knew nothing about this. And I was able to find, probably a dozen good spots to put in just from Google Maps. There is a Go Paddling, I think, app. I don't find it like great.
No, it's not.
It's very like generic, and I don't really trust other people's. It's kind of like when people share their fishing spots on Navionics. A lot of it is just wrong. So I don't really trust that. So you have to put your time in. This is the time to do this. Like over the winter, I spend a ton of time trying to find new spots to put in, trying to scout for pieces where I can tog. So that's how I kill a lot of my winter, is just poring over computer screens and Google Maps and Navionics.
Yeah, I got to say it's Google Maps for me. The Go Paddling app, it'll stick you places where you can't park and you'll get towed, like Brigantine, for example. You can't even get to this spot anymore, but there's a spot on there in Brigantine, New Jersey, where it says that you can launch. You'll actually get towed if you launch there. The
It's
casino.
really important to follow up physically. Go there, scout the spot.
Yeah, just be careful about where you're going. I do say this: be very careful where you launch, and assuming that it's a good spot just because you can get the kayak to the water. There are spots, and I'll bring a very specific one where you can launch. It is very well known. I'm not blowing up a kayak launch. It's down at Hereford Inlet, the bridge right there. And you can launch right at the base of the bridge. But what you need to know is that if it's at low tide, you are one step into 40 feet of water. It is a sheer cliff into 40 feet of water. So there are times where you don't want to go there because you can't get out without kind of diving onto the sod bank. And there's certain winds that you don't want to be there because it gets really dangerous. You know, when you step off onto that sod, it can break. And then all of a sudden you're in direct inlet flow in 40 feet of water, and it's going to be pushing you away from there. So it looks great. I will launch there sometimes, but I actually prefer to take a 2 mile, or I think it's a 1 mile trip around Nummi Island in order to get there, then launch at that spot. So I'll just caution people about that. Just be careful, make sure you scout it out and look at the depths too, because it does matter. And on the flip side, I launched at Staten Island once, looked like a great spot. Oh man, it was perfect, but I didn't think about low tide. And when I came back in after a very long day out on the Raritan, I'm exhausted, tons of striped bass. What a great day. And it was low tide, getting lower, and it ended up being like a 1/4 mile pull of the kayak, but it wasn't just like, it wasn't sand, it was mud and boulders. And I'm dragging my kayak, 100 and some pound kayak, over this thing. It was the worst. I think I might have cried on the way. it was so bad. In a dry suit. Oh my God. So I was sweating, it was probably filled up from sweat at that point. So
yeah, this is great day. I mean, blowout tide, you could be wading through, 2 feet of muck. It's not fun. You'll literally sink to your knees. And, when you're dragging a, 120, 140 pound kayak with gear, it ain't fun, man. So watch the tides. Absolutely.
Yeah. It can be brutal. It can be brutal. And, especially when it's mud, and the mud, that stink won't get off you. At least not very quickly. All right. So we have a question from L, Heaven and L Outdoors, which I think is an interesting question. Now, I'm going to tell everyone right now, there's a little bit of blasphemy in this. So get ready. So here's a question. I have a controversial question for everyone. Does anyone else feel fishing burnout by the time winter arrives? I know, blasphemy. Let's go around the horn. So, okay, George, let's flip your seasons. So you get started when everyone else is stopping. Like your big season is the fall, right?
I prefer spring. Right now I'm cooked. You
are burned out.
Yeah, I am completely burned out right now. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It'll probably take me probably till sometime in the end of December, maybe right after Christmas, and then I'll start getting the itch. And then I'll start to probably wander south.
Okay. All right. So there's another blasphemer with you, L. So George and you are both on that side of it. Kristen, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely say last weekend was rough. That almost had me. I joked with a couple of my friends and said I'm done fishing for 2 weeks, and literally it works out because I'll be on your trip this Sunday. But we were fishing in the rain. 40, I don't know, it was probably 40 something degrees. It probably felt like 30 something with the wind chill, and the forecast was just wrong, just wrong.
Yeah.
I brought a poncho over my stormer thinking that would be fine because it was kind of like supposed to just drizzle through the day. Rained, like legit rained. Everything is soaked. I cut my thumb on like my GoPro camera case thing. So I have it's the thumb that I need to spool the line with. So I'm like gushing blood, it's raining, I'm cold. I'm like, the bite wasn't there. Those it's tough. It's tough. Like those are the moments where it's kind of like, whew, I could be home, drinking coffee, playing Call of Duty, anything, but
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm here. So I'd say, hey, and then when it does happen, though, take a break. And, that is something I will definitely do and go try some of my other hobbies for a little bit and kind of similar to what George was saying, and come back, once you get that itch, you just come back to it, go back to some warmer places. That's usually when I start to migrate down to Maryland and Virginia for some tog. It's a little bit warmer, just slightly, marginally. You won't see me up north at all. And try your luck down there.
All right. So you're on a 2-week hiatus. George, you're just coming off a 21-day bender. So we,
Oh, yeah.
we get it. We get it. Paul, how about you? You burn out at all?
It kind of depends on how many charters I'm invited on. Sometimes you get into this, stretch. Look, like you get invited on like Fishing Fever on manga, you don't turn those trips down, right? So, you get out, you fish. But man, like I'm 54 years old, but damn, like I can't be at the rail for, an entire day, multiple days a week. That's when I get burned out. And like, I love fishing with Jerry, but like you ain't going home until the box is full. So,
Right.
you're out there. And that's what kills me. If I commit to too many charters, in a short period of time, as much as I love fishing with those captains, it kills me. I feel it. But I do like to fish year round, and a lot of guys bust my chops about the white perch, but ever since I discovered white perch, like kayak fishing, this is what gets me to the winter.
Yeah.
And, I like white perch fishing now, and it gives me more content for my page through the winter because I can post on reports. It just kind of keeps me engaged. So yeah, I've lightened up on a charter business recently just because it kicks my butt.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, I did it fishing professionally as a coach for a couple of years, and it wasn't fun. With that said, I still want to fish year round. I don't want to take big breaks unless I have to, but I physically can't do the everyday anymore. Getting old, I just can't do it. Like George, if you said, Rich, we're going to meet and I'm going to show you what it's like to start fish with me for a day. Honestly, without exaggeration, I could probably physically keep up with you for about 45 minutes. And then I'd be like physically done. Like I'm done. I just can't do it. I just don't have the stamina to do it and everything. So I'm starting to feel it more. So to that point, I think we all agree. Yeah, everybody does get some burnout. I think all of us do. But it goes into another question that we had. Actually, the first one I got when I posted this, how do you know when we cross over from fishing as a fishing for fun into fishing as a chore? And I think it goes with this.
Yeah.
Like, I think we all get into that where you go because you think you have to.
Oh, I did. It's every day.
Yeah.
Every day. It's almost like, I can't tell you how many times, I find myself, getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm driving up to the Raritan, or 12 o'clock, I get to bed at 8, 9 o'clock and then I get up at 12 o'clock for an alarm so I can catch a tide at 1:30 in the morning.
Right.
And, you're saying to yourself, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm standing in the middle of the Raritan Bay by myself at 2 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and you question your sanity, and you wonder, is it really worth it? How many fish do I need to catch to feel satisfied? And but then you get that first fish, and then and then it all comes rushing back while you're doing it.
But then it does return when you get back in the truck and you're like,
Sure.
Oh my God, I got a 2-hour drive back on 4 hours of sleep and I got work tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm 58 years old. I keep saying, this is going to be my last year doing it hard. This is my last year, but I've been saying that for about 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, we have records of you saying that on this show.
Yeah.
Kristen, what do you think? When does it pass?
I mean, I think similar to kind of what Paul was saying, there were seasons where it was like everybody was inviting me on a charter. So it was like, okay, I got to take this. Is this captain? Is this captain? I was running up and down. Like I think one year for my birthday, I literally drove and fished in 3 different states in
Wow.
3 different days. Okay, so I got an invite up. I was off. It was for my birthday, so it was in the summertime. So I was off, drove to Rhode Island to go fish for fluke. Then came back, fished. Well, now he's Monger, but with Captain Alex. Um, on point was on point, but Monger now. So fished with him the next day, and then had a tile fish trip the next day in Maryland. And each time in between, I stopped in my hometown and went to sleep and for like 2 hours and got back on the road. And by the time I got to the tile fish trip, we were fishing like I don't know, 800 feet of water, which I
Yeah.
probably let out an additional 200 yards of line. So like 1,000 feet with like a 5-pound weight. I was so tired. I could barely had the energy to catch that towel fish that I did catch that day. So I do think that like when that burnout happens, it's because I'm being teamed too much, like I tend to do. We get excited when we feel literally like, we call it the drug of the tug, right? We get excited for it. So it's like, oh, I get a chance to go here. I can potentially catch this big fish. But at the end of the day, to me, that's more of a frequency problem versus just actually fishing being the problem.
But
I
when
think too much
the dust
anything.
settles from something like that, and
Mhm.
you recover, you look back on it though, and you say, boy, that was great.
Oh yeah, I could tell the story now. I'm the youngest one of everybody, but I definitely feel the difference. 5 years later, when I first started doing this, and I was running up and down and fishing more from land and all of that, and trying to look for spots. So same thing, fishing on a metal boat all day. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts your joints a little bit. So you gotta. It's just to me, it's tempering it. Don't lose the love for it. You know what I mean? Take a break, come back, and then I'm sure it'll still be there, but it just might be that time where we're getting burnt out from doing too much. So
Yeah.
portion control.
I've
But
tried the
Exactly.
whole fish smarter, not harder thing, and it just doesn't work for me.
Well, so that's one of the things that actually brings up this question or this comment that you're turning fishing into a chore is when we go into how to find spots and the things that you can do to make your day more productive. And people are like, I just want to hit the water and drop a line and catch a fish. So
yeah,
that's fine. That's different fishing than what we're typically talking about. And on this channel, look, we tend to focus on the how-to more than anything. And it can seem like it's not just science. Like I do go fishing and I don't have a plan. I just hit the water and I just fish for whatever I catch. I have an idea of where to go, but I didn't research it. But the first time that we ever had that comment, Mahalik was on. He's like, and this is how you set the hook, and this is what you're doing. And that he went through very, very specifically. And the one guy was like, he's like, it's not fun. It doesn't sound fun. But there's a difference. Is if to Frank, that's not a chore. That's how he gets
yeah.
to his fun. But there's different ways to do it, I guess. Paul, you
Like
run
it
into that?
depends on your. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think I've recognized that recently, like in the last couple of seasons. So I'm really trying to pick my. First of all, I'm being a lot more selective about the company that I fish with. I don't like people who yell, scream, get bent out. Like I'm kind of with Mihalik. Like he fishes with gentlemen. I don't need drama in my life. Like if I'm on a boat, especially on a charter with guys that are getting pissy, it affects me. I don't have fun. So I've cut a lot of people out of my circle just because I don't enjoy fishing with them. And I pick my days. The other day we went out, got the snot kicked out of us on a 20-foot boat in 6-foot seas. I caught a double-digit tog, which was nice, but I hated life. Like we're coming back in a following sea, and head on a swivel because you got to pay more attention to the stern than the bow because a 6-8 foot wave could swamp the motor. Like this wasn't fun. Like I
Right.
don't belong out there. So I think I've recognized that I've caught enough fish. I'm not the world's greatest angler. I want to have fun. This is probably another reason why I don't create content. Like like if I had to put out a video, like I give a lot of props to guys like Joe from 609 Fishing and South Jersey Yak. These guys are out there every freaking weekend, and they got to put enough content on tape to last them through the winter also. That's a lot of work. This is not for me. God bless them. They're having fun. That's great. They make a couple of bucks. This is not for me. I'm never going to be the guy that's creating, content week in, week out, because I know that's when it's going to be a job and I'm going to hate fishing.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that I stopped doing that.
Yeah.
I'll do a video every now and then, but I'll do the live streams because it's fun. Editing videos for, going through 8 hours of video. Kristen, you know what this is.
Oh boy, I'm still backed up from the summertime.
It is
So yeah,
tough. It is tough.
Yeah.
And then you get that extra stress. Got to put out a video, I got to catch something, got to do something, which is why you see these lunatic YouTubers out there pretending that they caught sharks while floating out on, an inflatable unicorn. Everyone knows it's not true, but they do it because they just need something. I've caught this in the sewer. No, you didn't. You didn't catch that in the sewer, you idiot. But they need something, and it's easier to do that than it is to actually go out and catch fish. And it's not as much fun for me. Yeah, it kind of crossed that line. And to your point, Paul, you don't make a lot of money. You could have 20,000 subscribers. You're not making a lot of money on it at all. On a per hour basis, it's pennies.
I love watching 609 fishing. He's just such a good angler.
Yep.
Like I learned so much from him. I get to fish with Joe a few times a year. We did the tagging video for Rutgers. The guy's just amazing. I mean, I enjoyed that episode. The day that we went out, that's probably by far my favorite day this summer. It was a bunch of good guys. We did a good thing for Rutgers. And it was just fun, it was no pressure, we did our thing. So I enjoy watching his content. He's just a really talented guy.
Yeah, definitely. I got to get him back on.
Not to mention he's part of my pro stack team, so
that's true.
I get support him.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, he's a good guy, very busy guy too, though. I mean, he does a lot more than just fishing.
But that's why I love him. Like he's a family guy. He's he works hard. He puts out good content. He's just a good dude.
Yeah. All right. So we're at our hour. I have one question that I promised that I would get on. And this came in earlier. Actually, it came in about an hour ago. I don't know if you guys know the answer to this. Kristen, you might. Paul, you might. George, you don't care. So you're off the hook on this one. At what temperatures do tog basically start moving to deeper waters? Does anyone want to take that, or do you just want me to take that?
I'm gonna let you take that. I can take a guess based off of when they start biting in New Jersey on the party boats, but I'm gonna let you take that first. And
okay.
I'll chime in for any other color.
Okay. So mine's going to be. It's fact based, but I'm going to throw in my own personal observations as well, just to kind of slant it a little bit, because look, I can tell you the exact degree and nobody knows the exact degree, but people act like they do. So basically when you're talking about tog at this time of the year, and the question I think came in because it's like, well, when do I have to stop fishing the backwaters? And when do I have to go out front? And then after I go out front, how long before I have to get out to 120 feet? And get to the real deep stuff. So basically the way that tog move, you're basically going to have them comfortable and fishable in some quantity and some size in the backwaters until that water gets to around 56 to 53 degrees is kind of the range. And then they'll start to push out. Doesn't mean they leave. They'll start to push out. When you get to around, once you drop below 50, that's like a real trigger point for them. So you think 49, 48 degree temperatures in the water, they're pretty much pushing out. They're going out. And the reason is, it's not that they're going out for any reason except they're looking for more comfortable water, because once they get, I think the number is 45 degrees. Maybe it's a little bit lower than that, maybe 44, 43 degrees. Once they get to that temperature, it becomes very uncomfortable for them. So you look at, optimal temperatures for fish. That just means when are they the most comfortable and feeding the most. And for tog, once you get below that 45 degrees, they're going to have issues with it and they're going to push deep. The reason that they push deep is because you get a more consistent water temperature, and it will stay. There's a thermocline typically in the water when you get that deep. So they're going to get underneath that thermocline and they're going to hang there. You also see that in the winter for striped bass. So if there are striped bass in the backwaters and you're in a place where you're allowed to fish for them, look for an area that has a thermocline. They're going to be underneath that, sitting under there, but don't do it. No, you don't think so?
No.
During the day, they're not going to be sitting under the therm. All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I've caught bass in 30-degree water, breaking
Yeah,
with artificials on sandbars in the
Yes.
backwater in
Yes.
January and February.
But they sit under. They go under for the comfort of that more. Well, let me ask you this: is it on a day where the air temperature is warmer than the water temperature?
Not necessarily.
No.
No, I've seen. I mean, and I was kind of right with you for a while, until last year. Yeah.
Really? So it all
Yeah.
changed. Okay.
Yeah, it all changed for me. I mean, I think that what happens is I think there, because we have a lot of holdover fish. We have a lot of holdover fish, and okay, whether or not we're allowed to fish for them, that's a whole different topic. Okay, in the state of New Jersey, but you can go to Connecticut and fish the Housatonic River for holdovers, or you can go to Maryland and fish the catch and release season, and New Jersey shouldn't be any different. But I've literally seen artificials caught in 30-degree water that wasn't frozen. You had to break ice to get to the unfrozen water. And I think the feeds, they're just smaller. What they'll do is they'll feed for a shorter period of time. The activity of these fish is just a shorter period of time, but they're just as active in that short period of time. They're very aggressive in 30-degree water as they are in 43-degree water, but it's just a smaller window.
All right. All right.
And I mean, if I threw numbers at you,
I'm getting distracted by the chat at the same time.
if I threw numbers at you, I mean, what I've seen as far as the amount of fish that hold over in New Jersey waters it's ridiculous.
So, okay.
And I'm probably going to take some heat for that, but
no, well, not from me. Look, I think I've been pretty consistent in saying I don't know everything, and I am very happy to be corrected, especially when people see things different than what I see. Yeah. So I'll go back to what I was saying. Thermocline is a good indicator of the more consistent water temperature, but you can catch them in 30-degree water on bars.
Yeah.
So, for the bass. But as far as the tog, that's when they are going to start moving more to the deeper wrecks, which is why right now in the season for the head boats, they're in tighter to shore. They don't have to push out because the tog, they don't have to go anywhere yet. They're still very comfortable in the water temperatures that we're seeing right now. So
yeah, that's about the only part that I can kind of add, like just knowing, because again, I'm not really fishing bays. I don't do kayaks. I'm a big girl. I know we can be on kayaks, but my comfortability on being on a kayak is non-existent thus far. But when I get there, Paul, I know you're the first one to go to, because I've had friends tell me all different types that I can try. And I'm like, we're going to start slow. I digress. So anyway, the party boats, like how far, what kind of wrecks are we doing? Are we fishing closer to shore? So I feel like, especially, here's an example. When I went out 3 weeks ago, went out to James Joseph. So that was on the bay side on New York, Long Island.
Yeah.
I've never fished over there before. So I said, let's give it a shot. They had some good pictures up, but understanding that the temperature changed for there, like when I got there, I was probably about 2 weeks too late for when it was starting to die down. And so the ocean side, and i.e. like where we are in Jersey, is where it's kind of starting to pick up. Obviously our season opens. So I would say being on the party boats, knowing that it's usually a little tough, like right when it opens mid-November, we're fishing closer to the shore, small little wrecks and rocks and things like that are closer in. Once we start getting mid-December into like mid-ish January, and it depends on the season, that's when we're kind of going out to those deeper wrecks. Once we get past, if I'm fishing still in Jersey, once we get past mid-January to whatever boats are still going out, let's say mid-February, Now we're trying to hit those really, really far wrecks because again, like what you said is what people have told me about the thermocline and that temperature. So I never paid attention to the exact temperature, but around that 50-degree mark was what people have
Yeah.
murmured to me. So that's kind of what I'm aware of. Everything after that, I would just say, just based off what the party boats do, that's how I've tracked how far these fish must be moving out.
Well,
That's
yeah, I
my
mean,
2 cents.
you see people that make their living doing something, it does add weight to it. And I'll put George in that category as well. It may not be his living, but he treats it like, I mean, when you work less days than you fish in a month, it's essentially his job. He knows where to find those fish. So George, I want to go back and now we got to do a whole show on cold water fishing at some point. And Paul, you got to come in because I love that white perch fishing. I absolutely, and they're the smallest fish that I will target all year. And I absolutely love fishing for them. I don't care if it's 20 degrees out, I'm hitting that water. And that to me is so much fun.
It's a lot of fun and they're tasty fish. I actually prefer the white perch over sea bass.
It's too cold to clean them. I just throw them back. It's too cold.
Well, give them to me next time. All
right, I'll give them to you. All right, is there anything that we missed as far? Oh, I'm going to do this because it's my nephew who put the comment in there. I'm going to answer his question. So he's going Sunday. So Dominic says, Uncle Rich, are you going to pick us up for the fishing trip in your white rusty van with free candy written on the side? Yes, Dominic, that is the vehicle I'm bringing down. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I know you and your brother would fall for it. So yes, that's what we're doing. That's what we're going to roll up to the Osprey on Sunday.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So thanks guys for coming on. This is a good episode. I learned, and George, I'm going to be thinking about that for quite a while now about this.
You got to look at the Chesapeake Bay, Rich, and see what they do down there in the winter and how far those fish push up into the Chesapeake Bay, and that'll give you all your answers. I mean, it's an incredible fishery in the winter.
What's that, Paul?
I said, it's like, I love it. It's like late show controversy. We're about to wrap up, and then you and George just have differing opinions. Love it.
Well, see, yeah. So now I'm thinking I got to get to the Chesapeake now, and Paul, I'm going to drag you with me.
So, you're really going to have to twist my arm. Let me tell you.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to go down for some winter fishing where we can, when we can.
We'll have to talk about it off air. That's not for on air.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. If you're going to be again on the trip on Sunday on the Osprey, make sure you introduce yourself. It's literally the only sold out trip for the Osprey that I've seen. So I'm guessing the vast majority of people are going to be us. Might have a giveaway too. We've got one of my local tackle shop up here is saying they're going to try to throw something together. So who knows what the hell is going to happen? All I know is that we're going to catch more than starfish this time, and a single lobster. We're going to have fun out there. So everyone, until then, don't get out there in the water tomorrow. It's going to be brutal weather, but try to hit the water in advance so we can talk about that. And everyone else, we'll see you Sunday. And if not, we'll see you Monday with a recap. Everyone get out there, get on the water, get some tight lines.